Hi, this is Marlene, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Stories of the Supernatural. Whether you're watching a video or listening to a podcast, please like and subscribe to us so that you can get notification of when a new show is released. Links to videos or MP3 files can be found on MiamiGhostChronicles.com. Go to MarlenePardo.com for information on new book releases. I narrate several podcast series that can be found on major podcast platforms and can also be listened to via Alexa, Sonos, and other home systems. Look for Supernatural Storytime for scary storytelling, Nightshade Diary for classic horror and adventure stories, Stories of the Supernatural for interviews with different guests on the show. If you want to get noteworthy news about the paranormal world, true crime, conspiracy stories, and anything that is just plain weird, you can visit Strange Than Fiction Stories tab at MiamiGhostChronicles.com or find us on Blogspot. I want to thank you for being part of my audience, and I think you are all wonderful. Hi, everybody. This is Marlene with Stories of the Supernatural. How's everybody doing? Good, I hope. I'm doing good. Well, during the cold weather, you remember cold weather wimp here, but we're making it through. Everything is good in Chicken Kingdom because I know everybody asks how my chickens are doing. I have to do what I call my chicken rodeo at like after sundown because I need to stick them. I have a big, renovated coop. Some of you have seen the videos that I renovated. It was an old shed. An old metal shed, and I made it a coop. But a lot of them like to keep roosting outside. Excuse me. And when that weather drops below 45 or something, I said, no, we can't have that. So I have to hunt all my chickens. The roosters, I can't put them in there because if not, they would kill each other. Because I closed the door of the coop. It's very big. It's like maybe like a 16 by 16. They've got plenty of room. But yeah, you should see me out there with going after the chickens and throwing them in there, especially if it goes down to freezing. I don't want to lose any of my hens. So yeah, that's what's happening in Chicken Kingdom. And no, I have not lost any more predators, any more birds of prey, none of that. It's like one of those things. And I want to remind you guys again, please go ahead and subscribe to my mailing. It's not the mailing list, it's the newsletter. But basically what I do is I never share your email, and once or twice a week I send you some crazy article, links to some of the videos, just interesting stuff. And again, that's where I do any announcements as far as books, projects, anything that's coming up. One of the things I did want to announce is that I will be doing a live stream for Mardi Gras. Yes, on the eve of Mardi Gras, I'm going to be doing a live stream, and we can talk about Mardi Gras because, as you know, Mardi Gras is the last day before you go into Lent, Fat Tuesday, which is where everybody basically, after this, you had to be good. You had to have given up. This I'm talking here, Catholic Christians, you had to give something up. So it was like the last hurrah. And there's a lot of traditions tied into Mardi Gras. And I'm sure some of you have seen the masks. And even back in the Venetian times, when people would wear those masks, a lot of it started around celebrations of the last day before they had to go into Lent. And there's a lot of unusual stuff that at one point, even in Venice, they prohibited the use of the masks. And we'll get into that and all these crazy, weird stories. We'll talk about this and about that. And I know you guys wanted me to talk about, some paranormal news, like I said, before I get into it. And I found one, which is really interesting. And basically it talks about what I don't know if everybody's seen it, the evil eye. It's the I don't know if you've seen those medallions that are blue and around it, and it's got like an eye with like a little bit white with an aqua. Okay. And basically what it's saying is the evil eye, all right, is when somebody looks at you or let's say your kid to cause harm. All right. Now it could come in the form of a minor misfortune or more serious disease, injury, even death. And basically, it's that symbol, what they call in Spanish Maldeo. I mean, you can see it around the world. It more or less, it's always the same thing. It's basically like to ward off. And when people, even when the person says something positive, but when they're looking at you, they might say, "Oh, that's a beautiful whatever," but they're really thinking, "Oh, I hope it falls apart." That's what they call like the evil eye. Now, one of the things that they say symptoms of the illness caused by the evil eye include loss of appetite, excessive yawning, hiccups, vomiting, and fever. And if the object is attacked as a cow, this is going as out of a reference of an article appearing on Life Science. I'm not making this up on the fly. For example, if the object attacked is a cow, its milk may dry up. If it's a plant or a fruit tree, it may suddenly wither or die. And I'm sure you've heard of even in North America when they had when they were accusing women of being witches. You know, one of the things was, hey, if your cow went dry on the milk, that was like the present. You might have gotten hexed by a witch. Now, the evil eye is also said to cause a number of other maladies, including insomnia, fatigue, depression, and diarrhea. Okay. It's considered a magical as well as a medical issue. And the reason a given person succumbs to a malady may be attributed to a curse instead of random chance or exposure to a virus. It can even affect objects and buildings. All right. And then it says the evil eye cast upon a vehicle may break down irreparably, while a house so cursed may soon develop a leaky roof or an insect infestation. Just about anything that goes wrong may be blamed on the power of the evil eye. It's very well known throughout history and is mentioned in ancient Greek and Roman texts, so on and so on. And you're gonna see why this is so important, because at the end of I'll tell you a little bit more about the evil eye, but let me tell you who I got as a guest, and we're going to ask her about the evil eye. This is someone that's been here before. Her name is Miss Aida, and she is known for her aggressive execution of both negative and positive spells. She's acknowledged by thousands as a no-nonsense spellcaster. She has books. One is titled Cursing and Crossing, and the groundbreaking classic Destroying Relationships. She earned her reputation as the queen of cursing, crossing, and breakups, and she implements the same strategies with all of her spells. As Miss Aida says, give it all you've got. She was born into a family with a long and varied history of spiritual practices, including Santeria, Brujeria, Palo, and more. Her indoctrination cemented the principles that while performing spell work, be vigorous, persistent, and forceful in order to enhance the chances of attaining the desired manifestations. If you'd like to take a glimpse at the past of Miss Aida's tutelage, you can visit her blog link, and I'm going to put on the credits of the show, and we'll mention it for the podcast listeners at the end, what her website is. And it's titled, one of them is, take a look at the entry entitled Your Attitude. It gives you the idea of both her training and how she believes spells ought to be performed. She's a nurse, and she realized that skull candles can be manipulated as one would the human brain. Her innovative work in this area can be found in her book, Cursing and Crossing, Hoodoo Spells to Torment, Jinx, and Take Revenge on Your Enemies. I'm sure there's people going out there, what's that book? Because I know there's a lot of you. Miss Aida's personal code of honor, which is of utmost importance to her, consists of being ethical and having strong moral principles, honesty, and forthrightness guide Miss Aida's conduct at all times. Her magical history consists of numerous spiritual initiations and being privy to secrets of other paths. She's also a certified root worker and hoodoo practitioner. From a very young age, many witches, santeros, babalaos, and paleros have identified her as a natural-born medium. Her respect and honor extends to all spiritual practices, religions, and beliefs from around the world. When clients from various cultures or belief systems contact Miss Aida for assistance, it is her honor to learn from them as well. As she has said for decades, we never stop learning. Life is, after all, a learning experience. She is a Christian and Air Force veteran, a registered nurse, and holds a master's degree. Her mother was from Cuba and her father from Greece. She's a passionate animal lover who once spent 3 weeks in the Kalahari Desert working with and studying wild animals and their pack behaviors. Her German Shepherds have been titled in the sport of Schutzhund. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but still run her household. Help me welcome her back. How are you doing, Miss Aida?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
By the way, guys, before we start rolling, we did a whole pre-conversation. I met her dogs. We talked about dogs, weather, you name it.
You were talking about the evil eye, and
Yes, that's why I wanted to ask you,
I
what
have
is
to
there any
tell you
truth
a
to the evil
story.
eye?
Pardon me?
Is there any truth to the evil eye?
I have to tell you a story that happened to me. Yes, there's truth to everything you say, but I have to tell you the story that happened to me. I tell it all the time because to this day, it still freaks me out. So, right before COVID came out,
Okay.
I decided I wanted to go back to school to get my PhD, but my math is horrific. Okay. And I hired a math tutor, and we would meet in the library once a week, and she'd show me geometry and all that because I had to once again take the GRE because I hadn't taken it in 1,000 years.
Right. Yes.
And we're in the library. Well, I'm deaf in my left ear because when I was in the Air Force, I was in aeromedical evacuation, and there were very, very loud airplanes because I was in a combat unit. And when I wanted to hear my patients, or when I became an instructor, my students, I had to lift my headset up to hear them. And all that got to me, right? So I talk loud. And, I can hear fine in my right ear, but why do we talk loud? Because we're not sure if you can hear us. That's why we talk so loud.
My husband has hearing in both ears, and sometimes I'm like, "Why are you talking so loud?" And it's like, so I know, I get it. Believe me, I get it.
Well, I mean, I do have to admit, part of it is being half Cuban and half Greek.
I know.
I talk even louder.
Yeah, I get the Cuban.
So there was a man sitting at the table, and I was talking too loud. I didn't realize it. And he was really upset with me, really upset. And I don't blame him, right? And he slams both his hands on the table, stands up, and gives me the most awful look. I mean, he just stared me down.
Wow.
Okay. And I felt horrible because I knew what the problem was. I didn't realize it before.
Yeah.
So he gets up and he leaves. And my tutor kept talking, and I couldn't concentrate. There was something on me. There was something. I didn't hear a word she said. She kept talking. She kept talking. And I just felt like I had been swarmed with negativity, like dirt all over me. And I started shaking. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I went, wait a minute, this guy just gave me the evil eye. Okay. But once I got over the shock, okay, and I always carry a spray bottle of Florida water and a spray bottle of holy water in my purse. So I sprayed myself with the whole the Florida water, and then I sprayed myself with the holy water, and boom, boom, it was gone. It was gone. But that feeling was real. It was real. I talk about the aura. I talk about that a lot in one of my books, Voodoo Cleansing and Protection Magic. And this guy literally threw something on me. Now,
so it was more than just a stink eye. He really just on a psychic, metaphysical level, like.
Yeah, but I don't think he realized that he did it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm sure I know what he was saying to me.
Right.
I don't think he realized he cursed me, but that's how intense his anger was. Wow. And that's what I tell people when they want to inflict the evil eye.
Right.
Do it that way, to
that intention, that.
Right. But again, you got people and they compliment you, as you've already said. And
right. But what they're thinking is something.
Yeah. So, it's quick things. And, my dogs, German Shepherds, not a lot of people like German Shepherds. So if they're getting dirty looks, I spit on the dog 3 times. That comes from the Greek side of me.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, and from the Cuban side, that babies, they give them the little piece of azabache, a little piece of jet. It's a
Yeah.
little, and you put like a little pin with on the baby's whatever they're wearing.
Right.
Even when they're just born, and that's basically to keep the evil eye when even so that if
Exactly.
somebody's saying, "Oh, what a beautiful baby," but they're thinking, "Ah, yeah,
Yeah. 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 I had an asabache when I was a baby too. So,
yeah, yeah," and that's part of
and
the
that
thing
is,
about the evil eye.
people don't realize it is jet. It's, the crystal jet, which
Mm-hmm.
is nowadays very expensive. I mean, even a little asabache now costs an arm and a leg. Can you
Really, I did
imagine a
not
big
know that.
crystal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but people that goes back when when it says it goes back to ancient times. And a lot of different traditions have some version of what the I guess like what you said. Despite what the person says, what are their intentions?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And if someone compliments me, I don't like compliments. And I tell people, don't compliment me. Number one, I'm humble. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you never know.
Yeah.
And so if somebody starts commenting, and I do live events and people compliment me, they know not to, because I won't accept it. And that's
Okay.
another way you can avert it, is not
Okay.
accept the compliment. But worst comes to worst, spit on the ground 3 times. If you don't have anything on you to protect you from it, like
Mm-hmm.
the asabache, the jet, or whatever charms you may have, or amulets, or if you've sprayed yourself with, a different type of water to protect yourself, or an oil, spit 3 times. Spit
Right,
three
because a
times.
lot of people don't realize what Florida water is. That when they mean Florida water, it's you could buy it like a bottled Florida water.
Mhm. So I
That
get mine from the Lamb and Kemp website, because that's
right,
what my family always used. When I visited Peru, that's what they use.
right.
I know people make their own, but I don't trust. I don't trust
Well, no,
anything
but
than
when
the.
people say when she says Florida water, she doesn't mean like literally Florida water. It's a bottle that's been around. What was it? Murray and it's
Murray,
been
Lemon, and Kemp. Yeah.
right. They've been around for a long time, and I know in South Florida, where there's a lot of Spanish pharmacies and discounts, you could walk into them and buy it there. Okay, and I'm sure people could find it online if you really wanted to buy it online and find it.
Oh, you
But
can buy
yeah,
it from the company, Lamb and Kemp. They got rid of
okay,
Murray. I don't know what happened to Mr. Murray, but it's a
yeah,
Lamb and Kemp. What Lamb, Lanman, and then the other guy is Kemp, Kemp. But if
yeah.
you Google Lamb and Kemp, that website will come up. And they used to only sell by the dozens,
Mm-hmm.
and now they sell them individually. But
Yeah.
I always buy cases, and I was so embarrassed because I called about 10 years ago. So many cases I buy. Oh, it's her, it's her. These people are, all Latinos. I don't know if they were Cubans. I don't know, but they were
Uh-huh.
all just, everybody dropped and stood in line to talk to me on the telephone. I was dying of
It's like
embarrassment.
all I want is my Florida water. By the way, it smells good. People don't realize it smells good.
Yeah, but
But
it's how much I buy that everybody,
no,
oh,
I
what's
know,
yours?
I know, I know. But you know what? I think that's a great idea for somebody because there's the only one that needs to know really what it is if you've got one of those little sprayers is you. If you want to carry it in your purse if you're a woman,
It
just carry
smells
it in
good.
your purse.
It
Yeah, it
smells
smells
good.
good.
And
It
you know
smells
what
good.
else too is that if you buy it from the company, it has an alcohol base, and
Hmm.
that's great for COVID.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a disinfectant all in one.
So it's
But
like, wow, more
yeah,
purposes.
and you you mentioned something to me that as far as uh, I know that because you see from both ends. You see as far as when you do something to somebody versus if you're on the receiving end.
Right.
Okay, what do people look for if they're not really sure that something's been done, whether it's an evil eye or something's been done against them? What are some of the signs, the early signs that people should look for?
The earliest sign is what I've described. We all have an aura. We all have a
Okay.
bright, shining aura. And when, people throw negative energies at us, it suppresses us. And if you've ever heard the expression, I feel like there's a dark cloud
Yes.
surrounding me. Well, yeah, it is, but it's not a cloud. It's particles of negative energy that's suppressing your aura. That's a very first sign.
Okay.
But I mean, the signs go hand in hand. You named them all. They go hand in hand with curses. Nightmares, restlessness, illnesses, and if it's a continue, it's not like if you're just sick. I get a lot of clients that the doctors can't diagnose the problem.
Okay.
And that's a big one. That's a biggie. That's when the radar goes up, because you get a lot of people who believe they're cursed, right?
But not really.
They're not. I mean, it could be for many, many reasons. They could be ill. There could be an imbalance somewhere, a metabolic imbalance, or it could be psychological.
Mm-hmm.
But there's telltale signs. So if you say, "Oh, I got into a car accident," that doesn't mean anything to me. What else happened? It's got to be a run of thing. Oh, my appliances will break down. Well, the dishwasher broke. That doesn't mean anything. But if the dishwasher broke and the microwave broke and the stove broke, yeah, you got something on you.
Okay.
Another early sign, I'm not really naming the early signs. I did about the dark cloud. One of the earliest signs is people act differently towards you. They're either different towards you or they avoid you, and they don't know why, right? That's because we subconsciously sense other people's auras.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're sensing that, there's negative particles on it. So that's a really good early sign. If people react negatively towards you or dismiss you, like you don't even count. Can you imagine being in a room and in a meeting and everybody's giving their opinion, you give your opinion, and
it's like if you didn't speak.
Yeah. So I mean, stuff like that. Yeah.
I've heard, and I'm going to go, I've heard in some practices that, let's say we're not looking at like an evil eye or something, that they can actually send the spirit of a dead person as basically, I guess this would be like the end all be all curse or Pardo. Right. In other words, this is not like the thing with your aura. Right. This is actually a spirit of a deceased person, obviously, not at rest. Does it resemble the same thing, or is it when people see things? Because sometimes you hear people saying, "You know what? I've never had a problem in my house, and all of a sudden I'm seeing shadows or weird stuff is happening." But this just started happening out of the blue.
Now, the way I was taught and the way I learned is, the spirits come out, or I like to call them entities, because they're. I kind of feel sorry for those entities because they're entrapped. Okay, and they have to come back. So they come in and they do all that they can, but they have to come back to the cauldron. Now, I'm only speaking for Palo. I can't speak for the other traditions or religions. Okay, they have to come back. So what are you doing? You're sending it out every single day. See, this is where I kind of part ways with other people. Okay. So if you were, let's say you're a palera and you're sending the spirit out to curse me. Okay.
Right.
So it does all the stuff. If I get rid of the stuff, right, you might send him or her back, usually him.
Mm-hmm.
But how much time are you going to send this? How many times are you going to do this? How many times are you going to, keep sending this entity out to me?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So at some point, the practitioner stops.
Okay.
But let me tell you, if you panic and freak out, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You can't panic or freak out. You've got to recognize what the problem is and take care of it. So I had someone that was related to me who is a palera, and she got very, very mad at me because she wanted me to hand over my life savings to her. And I just had a feeling, because she always honors Baba Luaye. Now, Baba Luaye is a wonderful, wonderful entity. He's just absolutely, he helps the sick, he helps it. But if you deceive him, if you double cross them or you deceive them, you will lose a limb, right?
Whoa.
And I was terrified. I said, she's going to do something to me, right? And I don't like witch wars. I don't like them.
Okay.
I immediately went to Baba Luaye. I immediately went to him. I said, Baba Mi, you know, my father, because he has my feet in Palo. And I said, so-and-so who's related to me, you're not supposed to be cursing your relatives in Palo and
Right.
Santeria, right? And she wasn't really, she was married to the relative, right?
Right.
And it still counts, okay? And because she had children that have my blood in them, right? So anyway, I told him what she tried to do, how I refused to give it to her. And I said, and I just got this feeling that she came to you and hurt you. 3 weeks later, she lost her leg.
Oh.
And you know what the interesting thing, and I didn't do anything. I didn't do any magic. I didn't do anything.
Right.
I just, you know, by the way, for those who don't know who Baba Luaye is, it is our version of Saint Lazarus.
Right.
Okay. And
right. Then you have a little one right back there behind you.
Oh, you can see that. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Right.
You got good eyes. So no, because I don't like witch wars. You're going to send something to me. I'm going to send something to you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. No. I don't like that. Okay. I don't like any type of witch wars. Get rid of it and protect yourself.
Right. Right. So basically what you're saying is you didn't do anything. She kind of brought it on herself.
Yeah, because I told them that, you know, I don't know what she's telling you, but here's my side of the story.
Okay.
You know?
And let me tell you something. That's like
she blamed me for the loss of her leg. And I thought, how the hell did that happen?
Oh, so even after the fact, can I ask what happened? How'd she lose her leg?
No, I saw her. I took the family out to dinner in Miami and took them all out to dinner. And, you know, she came and she made an announcement at the table to everybody that I did this to her. And it was like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
God, talk about breaking up a family, you know, dinner meal or whatever.
I didn't do anything. All I did was protect myself. I came to Baba Mi and told him what I think she's doing.
That must have been like, and let me ask you, do you still have any connection with her, considering she's part of your family, or is it like one of those long distance, like she's there and you're over here and thanks, that's as close as I want to get?
Never talk to each other again. Never.
That is, wow.
What I wanted to say was, well, that's what you get for double crossing or lying to.
But it's like, let me quit on that.
I just acted stupid. I don't know what you're talking about. And I victimized myself. Oh my God, you know, it's blaming me. It's like, you know, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what am I gonna get into that? You know, I kind of suspected that you had done something you shouldn't have.
Right. I mean, I didn't ask him to do anything. I just said, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. That's all I said. I didn't wish anything or ask him to do it. Just please don't hurt me. Here's my side of the story. That was it.
Let me ask you something. For those practitioners, the ones that have the earthbound spirits, is there any point that this kind of like, what was it? Basically comes back on you? If you're doing, I guess I'm looking at it, if you're doing something kind of similar to what you're doing, if you're trying to do something against somebody without, for either, I guess, greed or whatever, you really don't have a good reason, not justified. How's that? Is there a point that it ever comes back on the person doing that kind of work? As far as
I think so, I really do. But you know, in Palo, and you know, let me clarify something first. You know, Santeria. A lot of clients call me and they say, "Oh, so and so is a santera, and she cursed me, and so is a santero, and he did this and that to me." And you know, Santeria is a beautiful religion. And again, you know, if you're going to explain to the Orishas, which are the entities that are worshipped in Santeria, they're loving entities. So, I mean, you would have to explain to them, just like I do in Hoodoo Justice Magic, when you're talking to God, explain to them what happened. You know what I mean? And then they take the justice into their own hands. You know, you give them an offering. But as far as Paulo, you're protected. So you've got one entity doing something, from the pot that you send out, but you've got other entities protecting you.
Okay.
However, I've seen over and over and over when they do unjustified curses, something bad always comes around.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. What if, God knows the human condition is people do things against other, people for the wrong reasons. I want what you have. I want who you have. I have I just don't like you. God.
Oh yeah, they want your job. They want your
job.
Status, they want your money. They want your husband, your lover.
Right. You're like thinking, I never done anything to you. So what's your problem with me? It's like, okay, it's not logical. It's emotional.
Entitlement. It's entitlement. And especially nowadays,
yes,
we have a generation of those who feel entitled, but we've always had that.
Right. Well, you know what? I've always heard of, and it's, I'm going to say, because you and me are in that same age group, where once upon a time where people would work for years and years in the same place, sometimes you would have people that disliked you and you're like, I never did anything to you.
Right.
So what is the problem? For some reason, like you said, they looked at you and it was like everything about you. You can tell this person is always either wants what you have, something. There's something that you're like, I don't get it. And a lot of them, I'm sure, I want to say it's almost even the basis of what they call the evil eye. Let's say you just bought a new car, let's say you go work. Hey guys, I got a new car. Your real friends are like, wow, great. Show it to us, and there's this person who's hanging out in the back looking at the car, like,
yeah, I think I'll key it.
Yeah. Well, and if not, they, let me ask you something. Do you think that, and I'm going to go into the thing of the negative thought forms, somebody that I'm going to say obsessively starts thinking bad things. Let's go with a car. Let's go with a car example.
Absolutely. So you're putting out negative energies.
Yeah. Okay.
Only thinking, I don't think is as strong unless you're just obsessed with it, But, I tell people in my books, sound is energy and you're outputting energy. That's the whole thing. You're outputting energy. So, thought processes can definitely do it, but thought processes accompanied with verbal processes, that'll get you. I mean, there's incantations you can say, that will do it, but absolutely.
Let me ask you something, and I'm going to show. This is the last book. All right. Hoodoo Justice Magic. Okay, this is the last book, Miss Aida. This is the last one you put out, right? If I'm correct.
Right. Okay. That came out.
Let me ask you. When you say justice, is this for when you think, and people don't realize that sometimes people, let's say you go to court, it doesn't mean that what happens, you get justice. How's that? Is that what you're talking about? Or is this a way to even things out when other ways don't work out?
It's a way to even things out when other things don't work out. We struggled on the title. In fact, the associate publisher and I, and the editor, we were all racking our brains, because I didn't want the book to sound negative.
Okay.
And this book is basically, think of it as a karate match. And, it's a book on self-defense. You know what I mean? It's, how to get rid of bullies, how to get rid of, people that want to take things from you, how to, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right? How to send somebody away, how to bind people from doing you harm. As it goes on, yes, I do have cursing spells in there, but they have to be justified. So if you did something really, really bad to me and I got no justice at all, especially from the legal system, which you're never going to get.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's like,
so you send that back to them. You're cursing them, you're sending them back exactly what they gave to you. And then I do have breakup spells in there, but they have to be justified too. It isn't because I want your husband or I want your wife or, I'm not going to break you up for that. I mean, it has to be for a very, very good reason. So
Okay. Talking about the legal system, do you have anything in there for when people are doing legal battles of different types?
no, I don't. It's
But
not
you
a
know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of spells in there that you can apply
Okay.
towards you know, the opponent. Is that the word? I
Right.
think okay, the opponent, and unfortunately their attorneys too.
There are attorneys, or you know what? I hate to say it. Sometimes, and I'm going to give you a perfect example, traffic court. You have the right person that's in a good mood, that's listening to, to people that are contesting their traffic tickets. It gets dismissed. You get the person that is a pain in the neck and has a hair up there, where,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, nah, yeah, forget it. Yeah, you got to pay court fees and you're going to get the points.
Yeah.
Sometimes to me, I'm saying it can even be as simple as being at the right place at the right time with the right person versus,
That book isn't geared that way. The book would be like, okay, so I have a cop that really hates me, and he shows up in traffic court, so I can do a binding spell on him.
okay. All
I
right,
can shut
perfect.
him up, or
Okay.
and I could put duct tape on his, do an effigy of him. An effigy is an image. So you can
Mm-hmm.
use a can. So let's say the cop is a man. I don't want to sound sexist.
Right. But let's go with that.
So I got a Figaro candle that in the shape of a man. Figaro just means it's shaped into something. Or I get a doll, and I find it. And I'll give you a good example is one of my old clients. Her son was brilliant. He was like 19 years old, and he was brilliant. No, I'm lying to you. He was 17. I'm lying to you. He was 17 and brilliant, and we both had hopes of him going to medical school or to law school or being the next president of the United States. And he ended up being a successful drug dealer at 18.
Wow.
Okay. And she kept calling the cops on him. She wanted him arrested to teach him a lesson. And the cops wouldn't do anything, and she couldn't figure it out. So one day he's gone. She goes through all his stuff, and she finds a teddy bear. And the teddy bear has got a policeman badge on it. It's got, he put a little uniform on it, and he's got the name of the county or the town's police department on there. And the thing has got duct tape around the mouth, the ears, and his
my God,
around his back. And I said, send it to me. So
she had done his own thing.
Her son did this.
Right, he had done. Oh, wow.
So she sent it to me, and I undid everything because I don't know what else he may have done to it, right? And after that, he was arrested. Yeah.
Oh my God. He's like, wait a minute. I'm going to take care of this at the metaphysical level. That's incredible.
You can use like a cow's tongue to shut somebody up. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie, The Devil's Advocate. It stars
Yes.
Yes. Oh God, he was sexy in that movie. It's like,
yes.
I'm not a Satan worshiper, but geez, oh man, he was really turning me on. Anyway. So do you remember the scene where there was a voodoo practitioner and Keanu Reeves was that the star? Yeah, he had to go down to this basement, and the guy had all these candles, and he said, what's the lawyer's name? And then he took a tongue out and he put nails through it. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. So you can get a cow's tongue, okay? And I have the spell in there, and it's not that complicated. And you can put the person's name, slit the tongue and put the person's name or their image, and sprinkle either alum, alum, and, sew it back up, put some more alum on it, put some vinegar on it, wrap it up in aluminum foil with a shiny side inside, stick that in the freezer, and what you got? You've shut the person up, and it's frozen shut. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do for court cases.
Right.
They're binding spells.
They're binding spells. And that's what you talk about in the book as far as different things. And you just got to think about, okay, how am I going to apply this to my situation?
Right. And for those that, and this has nothing to do with the interview, but I'm going to share this anyway.
Oh, by all
the
means.
candle, the Just Judge. if you get a bunch of them, they sell them in Latin grocery stores. Don't buy them online because they're an arm and a leg, but Latin grocery stores have them for like $2 or $3. They're glass encased candles. There's a prayer there. And, you know, you light that vigil candle. It's a glass encased candle. It's called a vigil candle. And you light that and you say the prayer and you ask God for, you know, for help. And don't just have one, have a bunch of the candles, and we call a run of candles. So then when one is about to go out, you light another one.
Okay.
And you keep doing that. And boy, I'll tell you, that's really effective.
Okay.
You know, the just judge.
Yep.
I know it has nothing to do with our interview, but I thought.
No. But people, you know, sometimes people don't realize nowadays where everything is like on a treadmill, including the legal system, even for people don't realize, even for something as simple as traffic court, it can complicate your life in a million ways. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So believe me, that's why I mentioned that, because it's not like, oh, I'm in serious trouble and, you know, I'm facing a murder charge, you know, or it could be something as simple as everyday life. Okay. Where, hey, I need to get that little bit of extra help somehow.
Right.
You know, so that things work out in my favor.
Right. You can also, I mean, again, this isn't in my book. Well, I do have something sweetening the target towards you.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that sweetening spell to sweeten the judge towards you.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, that thing that you described with the tongue.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
At some point, do you take it out and freeze it, or do you just leave it in there?
You leave it there until it's over. Right?
Okay, then once it's over, you just like chuck it.
I mean, what if, you know, and I do have in my book, you know, group attacks. And when I talk about group attacks, it's like, let's say it's a workplace and one person doesn't like me. Mm-hmm. And then she or he gets everybody else to dislike me. Then you've got group attack. You've got a group attack. You're the scapegoat. You know what I mean? And you can use that. You know, I always say, don't curse everybody in the group. You know, curse or blind or freeze the leader of the group. You know what I mean? Whoever's causing the harm to you.
And that usually that what is it? Cut off the head of the snake, and that's like, all right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, people don't realize that sometimes I've seen that in workplaces. That really, it's one person who gets everybody all whipped up, and before you know it, I know exactly what you're talking about.
What happened to me? You know, I was a charge nurse. I worked in the emergency center. I worked my butt off, and you know, I worked for that position, and then we had a couple of nurses come from a different hospital who decided they were just going to walk in and take my job, and they did the same thing to me, only it backfired. You know, it backfired.
I wonder why.
I don't know, but I ended up getting a huge promotion, but you know, it backfired. And when I got rid of the leader, everybody, you know, they knew I was a witch. They knew it. Mm-hmm. You know, like, she's a witch, you know, they're, you know, and once she started having problems, the rest of them backed off, you know, but boy, they're eager to follow that person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that queen bee mentality. Let me ask you, Miss Aida, since you mentioned, considering that you worked in an emergency room, God knows, did anybody ever come in with something attached to them that you were like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, it's so interesting because a lot of nurses and doctors aren't spiritual practitioners, but you know, contrary to popular belief, nurses and doctors aren't atheists. Nurses and doctors have seen a lot of stuff that they're the opposite, you know.
Right.
But there's times that we've seen stuff. In fact, we saw a situation where we didn't see it. These paramedics came in all shook up, and they had picked up a girl in the street. She was just in the street, and she was stabbed and thrown in the middle of a busy street. And she was in a satanic cult.
Oh boy.
And she was getting kicked out, or I don't know what happened. And some paramedics picked her up, right? The ambulance came. Okay. Don't ever call them ambulance drivers, guys. These guys are highly educated. They're paramedics.
Yeah.
And they had her, one had her in the back with the oxygen tank trying to resuscitate her. The other guy's driving. And the guy that was resuscitating her, he came up to the front for a minute and the truck blew up.
What?
The truck blew up. The two paramedics got out, but she didn't. She was in the back. It just blew up. So
those guys must have.
So another ambulance comes. Now this ambulance is picking up the two paramedics, and she's still living.
Wow.
She's still living. Okay. Barely. So they put her in the other ambulance. And what happens? A truck comes and hits that ambulance. Now she's
no.
dead. I mean, now she's like 100% dead.
Oh, okay.
Paramedics. Now we've got two paramedics pick up the four paramedics, right? And then they had to, and then we got a DOA and a dead on arrival. I'm sorry. And I've never seen people more scared in my life as those poor paramedics. I'll never forget.
Let me ask you something. Did they find out that it was something that she was part of a Satanist group when they picked her up, or after the fact?
Before.
Did they tell you how they knew that?
They had a call in for her. So
okay. I get it. I
think somebody that was in that call felt bad and called the 911, whatever.
I understand because I was like, how did they know? Like, or did they find out afterwards? Hey, now I know why. Our truck blew up and we got T-boned or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow. That
one
is
blew
incredible.
up. Truck. One ambulance blew up. The other one got hit hard. And the other. I mean, it's not funny. It's not funny, but it's.
Let's go Cuban on this. Se tenía que hacer un despojo, right? After that, it's like, quick. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, for anybody that doesn't know, a despojo is like the equivalent of like a cleansing, like whatever it is, whatever it is that blew the truck up and whatever is like, man, I need to get this stuff away from me. Like the whatever you. That's.
I mean, it wasn't funny at the time.
I know. I'm sure it wasn't. You look at it and you're thinking, but yeah.
So,
things like that.
I want to say something else about my book. So for those that don't like to perform spells, there's a lot of prayers in there. A lot of prayers. There's psalms in that book too.
Okay.
And, there are actually, the book of Psalms is in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Old Testament. And the Psalms are basically spells. And there's 3 specific psalms in there that are implemented for cursing. And because what does God say? Revenge is mine, revenge is mine. Okay. And I would say revenge is mine, saith the Lord, but he didn't say saith the Lord part. Okay. So anyway, so if you pray the Psalms and then tell God what happened and ask him for justice, they work. They work. You don't be specific. You don't say,
right.
God,
I was going to say, you can't leave it like an open-ended. It's not like, hey, I want them to fall off the side of a cliff. Like, leave that part out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I just want justice and let it work out whatever way it's going to work out.
Whatever way you see fit. And sometimes the punishment is worse than what you believe the crime was, because God knows all the other crimes that person committed. You only know the crimes that were committed against you. You know what I mean? So that's why I think they're kind of cool. And I've got San Alejo, for those that are Latino, San Alejo, he does great work for enemies, and Joan of Arc, Saint Joan of Arc. I mean, she's wonderful for, type of battles. And, especially we're talking back about the group attacks. That's a battle. It's you against a group of people, There's all different saints in there that you can pray to without having to say, I want all these bad things to happen. Just say, please, this is what, always tell them what happened. Okay.
Right.
And please, please, give me justice. Now, if you don't want to go the prayer route, then you do the spell work. And I tell you exactly how to make the right way and the wrong way to make your commands and your petitions. I tell you to protect yourself before and how to cleanse and do atonement afterwards. I mean, the book covers everything. So for those that don't want to perform the spell work, there's a heck of a lot of prayers in there too.
Let me ask you, what advice do you give to people? What if you go into, how can I say it, a house or a property where there's just negative stuff there, either whether it's intelligent or unintelligent, just whatever? How do you make sure that whatever it is doesn't hitch a ride with you back?
With me?
Let's say you go someplace. So let's say they invite you to go to somebody's house or someplace, some location. And unbeknownst to you, of course, you don't know either. You've got something dark there, either, like you said, emotional. The fabric of the place is charged a certain way. Or you might have an actual intelligent haunting, and you're there.
Right.
Is there anything that you could do to make
sure? The very, very, very first thing you do is you got to protect yourself, right?
Okay.
You come in, and I got to tell you something. I read one of your books. I have one of your books, I should say.
Okay.
I have one of your books, and you said something very interesting. It was like, wow, I had an aha moment. And you talked about an iron knife buried at the front of the property. And so after I read that, I consulted with one of my dear, dear friends who's a demonologist and an exorcist. And she goes, oh, yeah. And so she taught me to wear iron bracelets and iron rings. And, of course, I always wear silver also.
Right.
And, you've got to, even though you're protected, still wipe yourself off. Wipe yourself off when you're leaving. Yeah, and you have more experience with that because you're an investigator. I'm not.
I haven't yet. I tell everybody that when I went to investigations where it was like there was nothing there, but you went but there was other times where there was an intelligent haunting or some type of dynamic going on with the people in the house, or even just something that I tell people that you could move into a place, and even though it might be freshly painted and look all spick and span, you don't know what took place in those walls sometimes. Or even that they have a sick room. You know how sometimes people, they linger even a year in a certain room and they were ill. And then you see somebody moves in there and uses that room and they start having some of the symptoms. And they're like, they don't get it. Like, you know what you said earlier? I go to the doctor. The doctor doesn't find anything.
Right.
So, but, I had, occasions with the team that I was with where a lot of things happen sometimes afterwards that people didn't realize was, okay, the timing is a little bit too weird for it not to be part of of something that was there that basically.
What about something that's there that's trying to stop you from going?
Absolutely, all the time.
That's happened to me where I've been, something has attacked me to prevent me from, because I don't do investigations, but I do cleansings and I do sometimes do exorcisms. I hate doing them. Okay. Or I'll do detachments, but it's interesting that stuff will hit me right before I'm going. So they're trying to prevent me from going. So I'm sure that's happened to you as well.
I would tell everybody, I used to, in my other house where my son is at, I used to have a detached garage, which I made into my office. And the window had, that frosted glass on it.
Yeah.
And behind on the other side was a little walkway. What I do was put the trash cans because they were out of sight. And a lot of times I'd be in there working just because it was quieter. And I said, I knew either I was about to receive a case or I had just gotten a case because I would see movement of somebody walking behind that frosted glass. I said, and I knew nobody was there. It didn't face the sidewalk. The other side of it was my backyard. And I said, I would tell everybody that's my first tip off that either I'm going to get a case or if I have one, it's an intelligent haunting.
Yeah.
Tell everybody, if you're a paranormal investigator worth their salt, if you don't think that they're on to you before you might even know about the case, I got news for you. And they're coming to check you out. That was my first tip off. There's an intelligent haunting there. I don't know exactly if are we talking human, non-human? I don't know what. Because I would see that back and forth. And at the beginning, the first few times that it happened, I was like, it was too far off the ground for it to be the dog or anything.
Mm-hmm.
My kids were
Mm-hmm.
inside the house, but I would go outside and I'm like, I would look, is there a tree limb? Nothing. And then after a while I
Right.
caught on. Because they're checking you out.
Yep.
They're checking you
Yep.
out. Exactly like what you said. There's a, how can I say it? If you think that everything happens just when you arrive at that place, no, it doesn't. There's more to it than just that.
Yeah, I had something attack me. I was on my way to go somewhere to do a detachment. This was in a year and a half ago. And this poor girl, I thought it was one attachment, it was three. And it was so weird because, sometimes your animals will take the hit for you.
Yes.
And she flew here. She flew to me in Michigan, right? So that I could do this. And one of my dogs got terribly, terribly sick to the point that I almost couldn't go. And I said, let me see if she took a hit. And that's what we say, your animal took a hit for you. Or if your protective jewelry breaks, your jewelry's taken a hit for you, right?
Yes.
And so I did some, removal and cleansing before I was going to call a canine or animal ambulance. And she recovered. She recovered, and I was able to do it. I was like, okay, this is a lot more serious than what I had anticipated. And it turned out she had three entities attached to her.
Human or non-human?
They weren't. So what? They weren't Dubbocks. They were non-human.
They're non-human.
Yeah.
Yep. People don't realize that. That you've got things around you that, like you said, run interference for you.
Right.
Including
And
animals.
the interesting thing too is I thought it was going to take like, an evening and then a morning, and it took me 3 days. It was like I get rid of one, and it's like, what the heck's going on?
Let me ask you. Well, they were trying to like scare you off.
Oh yeah, I mean this girl was big. I mean, I'm tiny. I'm 5'3". I weigh 105 pounds. Okay, this girl was big. I mean, she was a really, really nice girl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, she got really aggressive and in my face, and I just put my face up to her.
And where did you pick this up? Did you ever discover it, or did she ever tell you?
She doesn't know. But anyway, by the time we were done, she said, they were terrified of you. It's like,
Yes.
good. But I mean,
Yes.
I have God on my side. You know what I
Of
mean?
course.
And that's why I'm fearless.
Yes.
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 I love God. And that's, for the audience, that's the key to
Yes.
everything. It's a key to everything. I love, I'm not a religious fanatic. I'm far from it. I'm a witch, right? But I just love God so much. I mean,
Right.
I can't begin to tell you.
You know what? And one of the things that people don't realize, because that I'm going to ask you, when we were talking about and I'm sure you've heard of it, of the powers of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That people, that they say, to put it down on doorways or entryways and
Right.
things like that, or even in the corners, because basically it absorbs negativity or it repels
Right.
an entity. And I spoke to you earlier about that. Can people do that also on their property?
Absolutely. But, the one thing you got to be careful of is, salt, can protect. So here's the thing you got to be careful of.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an entity in the house,
Oh,
right, you're not going
okay.
to put salt around your house, because then he can't get out.
Okay.
So if you can get it out, then, you put salt at your doorways, you put salt, at your windowsills, and any possible place that it can enter. Saint Benedict metals. Put
Okay.
Saint Benedict metals. And I know I'm changing the subject, but I
Mhm.
have in hoodoo cleansing and protection magic, I've got a whole bunch of ways to get rid of them. But of salt, don't enclose your house with it while the
Okay.
thing's still there, because if it tries to get out, it can't.
Okay. So basically you're trapping it inside with you. Like,
Right.
let me ask you, if you do something like that, let's say you got rid of whatever,
Mhm.
and you've put down salt or some type of barrier, and somebody with an attachment, with them comes to your house, will they feel comfortable?
No.
That's what I
They won't.
thought. They won't, right?
I know somebody that who's very, very, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nicest person in the world will not come into my house. Will not.
And
Nope.
you wonder why. Oh,
I mean, it makes me wonder. Come
yeah.
on over.
Yes.
Why don't you come
Yes.
over for dinner?
Oh, let's go meet. Let's go meet at the whatever restaurant. Whatever.
Exactly. It's like, wait a minute here.
Yeah. And I think that people sometimes, as I was mentioning to somebody, the other day I was reading an article, and I blew by the date of that for Epiphany. That especially in some tradition, El Dia de los Reyes Magos, which is the 7th of January. For example, in Cuba, this is when actually you gave presents, which celebrates when the
I
three
used to
wise
put my
men.
shoes at the windowsill that night.
Right, you came. It wasn't like Christmas Day per se when you gave the gifts. It was the 7th, which is when the three wise men come to the baby Jesus in the manger.
Yep.
Right, and this is right after that. There's Epiphany, and then this is a day that you could mark like a blessing across your entryways in chalk. And people don't realize, people, how can I say, people might think, and maybe you can explain this, Miss Aida, that you could think, well, what am I going to do if I scribble whatever symbol it is on my doorway? What's that going to do in the metaphysical plane?
In the medical physical, do not enter.
Exactly.
It's a do not enter sign.
People sometimes see it as something very physical, very simple. How can I say it? That they might look at it and go, that's so simple. All you're doing is making markings with chalk.
I wouldn't use chalk, though. I would use cascarilla, which is...
Yes, I know what cascarilla is. Yeah.
The dried eggshells, and it looks like chalk, and it acts like chalk. And
right.
That's what I would use. And I've done it, but...
Yes.
I was telling you earlier before the show that I found something better. Now I do everything in lamb's blood because
Oh my God, you got to tell that story. Tell that story that you told me. Explain. So people don't think, why does she like lamb's blood? It's like...
So I was like, really, this is 2 years ago when the COVID first came out.
Okay.
And, I was really concerned because I'm an older woman. I have high blood pressure. I'm tiny. I've said this before. I'm 5'3". I weigh 100. I fluctuate between 100 and 105. It's like, oh God, maybe I'm going to, I was so upset. And I'm a Catholic, but I studied Judaism, which I like to call Judaism. And I was taking the classes, and not to convert, just because it's fascinating. And I'm reading the Torah, and, a lot of you have seen the movie, the 10 Commandments, right? So one of the plagues was that the firstborn sons would all die. And what they did was they got lamb's blood and they put it over their doorways. And so the angel of death would see that and would not take the son of that house. I said, let me try this. So I went out and I bought lamb leg, right? The boneless lamb leg. And I squeezed it, and, there was already blood in the package, but, if you squeeze it, you get more. And then I took a pastry brush and I put it over all the doorways, my door wall, my garage door, everything. And then I painted, God's name, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, or I didn't say Eloheinu, I said Baruch atah Adonai because I didn't have enough blood. And blessed be you, God. And something came over me. It just came over me. I could feel protection, and I could feel that everything was going to be all right. And now I swear by lamb's blood. I swear by it.
Isn't that interesting?
And I haven't had a cold or anything since. I mean, not even It's like, that's weird.
Exactly.
So I'm
like you said at the beginning, there was a lot of unknown in this whole scenario. So people were like wigging out, kind of like, wow. But and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be a complicated thing, whether it was something like lamb's blood or, written in chalk or cascarilla. I guess what I'm saying is for something to be effective, doesn't have to be complicated.
Right. And that's the beauty of hoodoo. And, I've written 4 hoodoo books. Okay.
Yes.
The beauty of hoodoo, and it goes along with Cuban brujeria. Okay.
Mhm.
They go hand in hand because hoodoo and brujeria, that's folk magic practices. Okay.
Right.
The beauty of hoodoo and brujeria is Cuban brujeria, I want to be specific about that, is you're working with what you got. So,
Okay.
what happened when the slaves came over to the United States, right? And they were taken to the South, and that's where hoodoo was, birthed. And they had to work with what they had, what was available. They didn't have fancy altars. They didn't have, and I'm not knocking that. Beautiful altars are beautiful, right?
Mhm.
The ground, that was their altar, right?
Right.
So I have different altars in there. I have different things that you can use. You can use all kinds of things that you don't ever have to go to the store, ever. Okay? I mean, if you want to do candle magic, yeah, I have candle magic in there. But you don't have to go online and say, I need this and I need that. I need, hoodoo and Cuban brujeria are, for me, the same. And you're working with what you have, and it's effective. It's effective.
Right.
Right. I remember when I was a little girl, I got one of the spells in there where you use a pin cushion and a pen. And there was this woman that I was only like 5, but I was a little too smart for my bridges, right? She had a pin cushion and she was putting pins in that cushion. And she said, this is Marta. And I said, well, I got a better idea. And I didn't tell her because Marta was coming over. I put a needle in the chair where she was going to sit.
Oh my! She's like, forget let's go direct. Oh my God!
My mother caught it at the last minute. I said, but Mother, it's better than your brujeria. She's just going to sit right.
It's like, muchacha, ven acá.
No, she wasn't that calm.
Okay, I'm doing the PG version. Well, yeah, it's like, hey, he's like, man, why are you? Let's go direct to the source. But yeah, I like it. Children always simplify things.
Exactly. See, I was born to know this. The simpler, the better. No, folks, you would never do that. But I just thought, the pin cushion and the pen, that is actually a spell. You don't have to go online and buy $20,000 trillion and stuff. That's the beauty.
Right. And that's what I meant, that, people sometimes think that for something to be effective, it has to be complicated and you have to spend a lot of money. And sometimes, I guess,
the more complicated it is, the more scattered energy you're outputting.
Right.
So, let's just say, and I'm going to give you a different example because I have examples in my book of what not to do and what not to do, what not to say, what not to write. But this is how you write it. So let's just say, and I tell people this for love spells, do not deliver a grocery list. I want him to be rich. I want him to be handsome. I want him to speak Spanish and English. I want him to be a wonderful cook. I want him to be well-educated, well-cultured. Okay, that's too much energy, number one. Okay, you're going to say, I want the perfect man for me. Now, one of my clients, I was like, almost had a heart attack. She asked for 3 things for this man to be. Okay. And he had to be over 6 feet tall. I said, this is the stupidest petition I've ever seen, because what if he's rich and loves you? I forgot what it was. Good luck. Right. But he's 5'11".
Right. Exactly.
You.
Yeah.
So the more complicated, the more scattered energy, you got to focus on one thing.
Has anybody ever come to you asking for you to do something for them, like a spell or something more complicated, that you kind of said, no, I can't do that?
I am the poorest spellcaster on the planet because I won't do cursing spells or breakup spells unless they're justified. I have to
Okay.
do a reading. I cannot tell you how many times I'll say I won't do this because of the story they're telling me. It's like this isn't justified.
Right.
Or in my reading, it shows they're lying.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of times they'll talk to people and they're not psychologically stable.
Sure. I
And,
believe it.
and I charge very big money. Like for cursing, I charge 1,000, and for breakup, I charge like 800. But I do that for a reason, and
Okay.
that, number one, I work on it 2 months because, I
Okay.
always say you got to pile on the straws. So you keep
Okay.
doing that until you break the camel's back, right? But number two, it's a deterrent. It's like, oh, maybe that
Right.
person really didn't do these things to me.
Sure.
It's like, I'll give you an example. Some woman, I just really hate to say this, but I despise this woman. And, she did so much that, gee, she mysteriously got cancer. I don't know
Okay.
why.
Ah, it
And
happened.
it's in my book. But she called the police on me because my puppy got in her backyard. And
Okay.
she wanted the dog to be, it was a puppy, put
Right.
down this and that and that and this. And so I called them animal control, and I donate a lot to animal control. So they know me,
Okay.
right? And I called the supervisor. I said, she's making up all these lies. She goes, She looks on the computer. She goes, that's strange. Your dog has a rabies shot and a license. Her dog doesn't.
Oops.
So she called the woman and she says, I know you want her dog in quarantine, but your dog has to go in quarantine too. Oh, well, her dog didn't do anything. You understand?
Right.
So she backs down. I mean, when there's,
Sure.
So
Yeah, but people do stupid stuff like that, and you ask yourself why, and you'll never figure it out. To be so mean spirited.
it was a whole different. She wants to be the head of the neighborhood, and it's like, no, I'm sorry. When you buy my house or pay my mortgage, then you can tell
But
me.
still, and even then, I don't know. I myself personally, I'm so busy. It's like I don't, as long as I can do whatever I want on my property, that's what I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's people don't realize that there's a bunch of people running around like that.
Jealous, envious. I mean, what's the
Yes.
bottom line? The bottom line is there's something wrong with them.
Yes.
Why are you so hateful? Why are you so resentful? Why are you so, I'm jealous of nobody. I mean, I think I was jealous one time when this guy I really liked, was ogling a pretty girl. And I think that's the only time I've ever been jealous. But if you have
Different.
won the lottery, I'd be more excited than you, even though it was you.
But
I
you know
don't
what?
look at neighbors, I got this, and I need that, and I don't do that.
You know what? Whenever I hear of people like that, to me, I tell that gives me a flavor of a psychopath. When people think of a psychopath, they think of the serial killer. You could be a psychopath without a violent streak. That doesn't mean people think that a psychopath automatically think of the movies. You could be a psychopath, and what a psychopath craves is control. Okay. And control sometimes is exactly like what you described. I want to control everybody here. And the person that bucks it, like you were trying to do.
No, that I did.
Oh, you did. It's like this person.
Nobody tells me what to do.
I'm going to, and I'm going to give you, those are the ones that'll call code enforcement on their neighbors. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
These are the ones, they don't go killing people. They don't. But what makes them happy is doing stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially against people sometimes that really they haven't done any. There's no what do you call it? Hey, we never had a fight. I don't hate you. I really don't. I don't even know you that well.
Exactly. Thank you.
Right?
Exactly.
And they still, and you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
People don't realize there's a lot of psychopaths running around out there.
Oh, yeah.
That just because they haven't gone around killing. As a matter of fact, sometimes they're really, really, they know how to mask emotion, and they even know they're very law abiding. You know what I'm saying? Or they use the law, like she was doing with
like
the
people that go to church every day, and they're the worst ones.
Or like what she was doing with the animal control.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to use it to be to do my dirty work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of people running around like that. So I could see where this would come in great. Yeah. It's like I'm going to fix your wagon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. And I hate to say it, I think everybody, if you've lived life a little while, you have crossed paths with people like that. And sometimes you don't have the luxury, like you said, if you work with them, if you live next to them, what are you going to do? Quit your job, move? You can't, or you don't want to.
Yeah. I feel bad for people that cower. They cower, it's like they just go along with it or hide or something. And it's like, no, don't do that. Don't do
I guess, you know what? And you're absolutely right, because some people will try to say, okay, you know what? Let me fade back and see if this person will just lose interest in me. And sometimes it works in the opposite. They become more.
And that's what this woman did. It's like, the more I ignored her, the more she came at me. And then she even had her son and her son's friends come at me. And she even had her son threaten to kill me.
Holy.
And it's like,
all right.
I got to tell you, I did every cursing spell. I was like, is she protected by the devil? And then finally it happened. I mean, finally it happened. And it's like, I haven't heard crap from them in, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years.
That is.
And the only thing is interesting, because I was at the grocery store, and this was about 3 months ago. And I'm real spry. I mean, I can outrun a 20-year-old, because I'm always running. And I saw her at the grocery store, and she looked horrible, just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Como se dice jorobado? And she was
twisted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she could barely walk. She was using the shopping cart, and I saw her, and she was telling somebody she was moving.
And you're like,
and I just took the shopping cart, and I just had to be cruel. I took that shopping cart, and because she knew it was me, and I ran with the shopping cart.
So I'm not Horoa. I can run. I can.
It's kind of interesting, how God works in mysterious ways, to chase her out of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Her biggest thing against me was I wasn't white. I'm Cuban, and
really?
that was her biggest thing.
Are you serious?
And, yeah, and it's so interesting because I prayed to God, help me. And we had a Black family come in, an African American family. Wonderful, wonderful people, wonderful. And now she's moving out because of him.
And you know what? People don't realize it's like who the hell wants a neighbor like you? I don't care what you are, who you are. It's like, get out of here.
I almost said, but I said, nah. She's gonna move.
But that's funny.
I can't tell you how happy I am.
You're like, okay, what else can I throw at this lady? Well, man, when it finally, you know what they call, what is it when you have that critical mass where you push against something so heavy that finally it like moves? It's like,
I know, but when it happened, it all happened. I mean,
it all happened.
Cancer, cripple. I mean, it was just all at once. And as I tell people too, like, they ask me, and I have it in the book, how long does it take for a spell to work? Okay. And I usually say 2 years max, because our time and their time are different. Okay. So, the way I was always taught, and I was told by spirit that a year for me is like 10 minutes in the spirit world. So if they're going to get to you, they will get to you, but it just depends,
Let me ask you something. What happens when somebody does a love spell? They want somebody, you know how people get like obsessed. This person belongs to somebody else, but they want that person. And here it could be man or woman, either way. Does the spell work, or is there something, how does that work?
We have a word for that. I've seen people do the magic, and I'll see that the target is a person, the recipient of the spell. They'll start bobo. They start acting bobo. Their looks are different. But I just think it's very, 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 very bad to do a love spell if that man is happily or that woman is happy with
Right.
their partner. Anyway, I said this on another show. Who are you hurting? I mean, I'm madly in love with Andy Garcia. Okay, if I were to, no, I'm serious. Okay, God,
He's
I
aged
love
well.
that man so much. I mean,
Uh-huh.
let's just say I knew him and I put a love spell on him. Is that fair to his wife, his children, his grandchildren? Is that fair? I'm hurting a lot of people.
Of course.
So
Of course.
I'm very careful with love spells. I don't do them frequently because it has to be something outstanding.
Because
Not.
sometimes you see these people, they kind of like get obsessed. Like,
Yeah.
that
Well,
they
I mean, a
kind
lot of
of,
people get obsessed when they can't get what they want.
right,
And
right,
then
right.
once they get what they want, they don't want it anymore.
Then it's over.
Okay, it has to do with the challenge. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I think, honestly, I think love spells are more dangerous than my book, Hoodoo Justice Magic or Cursing and Crossing. I think they're more dangerous. I really do.
Right.
You can be hurting a bunch of people.
Sure. Sure. Let me ask you this,
I
and I'm going to ask you a question. Does the love spell ever wear off? Let's say I'm the target, and all of a sudden this person's like, huh? Like, they're like, all of a sudden, that's it. They're not under the spell anymore?
Yeah, no, they'll weaken and then they'll go to the practitioner, and get some more. And that's where I will draw the line too. It's like, do you constantly want this person under a spell because they really don't love you? You know what I mean? I mean, that's not good either. That's another thing that I'll turn down.
Right, like you got to do this, otherwise this person would walk away and not be with you.
Yeah, that means the person never really loved you. So I mean, what is that? To me, that's a caging spell, and I don't like caging spells. To me, it's a binding, an unjustified binding spell.
Sure.
Now I'll do spells like if I like a guy, I'll do attraction spells so he'll pay attention to me.
Right.
But I made mistakes in my life, where I've done a love spell and I couldn't reverse it. And then I couldn't get rid of the guy. And that's happened to me like 3 or 4 times. It's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I couldn't get rid of him. It's like,
then it's like, oh.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah, I imagine that probably that does happen where, what is it? Or, it's like, how people, you become mesmerized with this person, you kind of idealize them. And then when you get the real thing, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's.
I had a guy do that to me.
They did it to you? You were the target?
I had someone, this guy was really good looking, and I don't know what came over me. We had nothing in common, but he was so good looking. And anyway, then I thought, I'm not a drinker. Okay. And this guy was a functional alcoholic. And, he had done something with my cupboards. And I was up there one day washing my cupboards and I found all these empty booze bottles, the I don't even know what you call them, the little ones of the whiskey.
Right, yeah, I know which ones you're talking about.
And I was like, this guy's an alcoholic. And so anyway, every time he was around me, I couldn't stand him. I was like, get out, get out, get out, Now he was American, but of Norwegian descent. Okay. And then he'd leave and I wanted him back. And then he'd come back and I didn't want him. I mean, and it was the same day. It was always the same day that he'd come back that I didn't want him. Right? It's like, what the hell? So one day it was like, something's wrong here. I can't stand him.
Okay.
And something told me to go through my drawers, my dresser, my coqueta, And
yes.
I fold all my everything military.
Okay.
It's a force habit. And something told me to go through it. I did. And he had a sweaty shirt. That he folded military the way I folded and put it.
So you wouldn't notice it.
All my clean clothes. And if you leave, and that's what we call a personal concern, this has got his sweat there, his DNA, and everybody, not everybody, a lot of people leave their jewelry at a guy's house. So as an
Yes.
excuse to come back. Did I leave
Right.
my bracelet there? But there is a magical connotation to that. Your
Mm-hmm.
DNA is still in that house. So that person will come back.
Okay.
Okay. And that's what he did. And I found that shirt. I was so upset because now all my other shirts are dirty, right? And I
You put bleach in that load.
I contained it in a those freezer bags. They have the double thingy,
Yeah.
and I contained it. And do you know, from that day forward, I didn't want any part of them.
That's
And
incredible.
he kept calling. So I had one of my friends, one of my male friends, but he wasn't a boyfriend. He was just a friend who was a male.
Mm-hmm.
And I had him answer the phone and say, we're engaged. And that was the end of that. But yeah, I've had it pulled on me.
I've heard also that sometimes some of those types is if you eat something, is there any truth to that?
So, one of the most common ones is menstrual blood. And so, Cubans do this all the time. So do hoodoo practitioners. And hoodoo practitioners will also use sperm, if they're male.
Yes.
But, I'm not a male, so, the period, the menstrual blood.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is, now the way I was taught by my mother is you put a coffee cup underneath your vagina,
right,
and you wait for 3 drops to hit
okay,
that coffee cup, and then you put it with coffee. But you can't make the coffee too hot,
right,
because then it'll burn the DNA. And I used to do that to my husband whenever he get like sour on me.
mm-hmm.
That spell only lasts a couple of days.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, people are under the misimpression that it lasts forever and ever. No, it lasts as long as it goes through your digestive system, and then your kidneys filter it out, and
mm-hmm.
Because it's just blood. Now there's something called live things in you, which I did not put in my book at all. And live things in you is where you literally curse somebody and they'll have stuff in them that they've consumed. I don't do that. And I don't even want to talk about it because I don't even get people ideas. You know what I mean? So
this sounds like DEFCON 1 of spells. This is what it sounds like, because this is, like you said, this is something that I guess going to stay with this person until somebody, like you, helps them out.
Yeah.
What if in other words, if somebody came to you that they had done that to them, could you help them?
Yeah. But I insist on a medical exam. Let there be light. Okay. I would say, I'm a nurse first.
Okay. Always sure. Of course.
Okay. So I need to know what's going on with you medically.
Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. And people don't realize that, believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, a lot of these things have just medical complaints of different types, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's only when, like you said, you ruled out all the other stuff, and the doctor's like, I don't know what to tell you. That's incredible. Miss Aida, thank you so much. It has been absolutely wonderful to talk to you.
Oh,
I'm going to put a link to your website on the credits of the show, but for the podcast listeners, what is your website address?
missaida.com, missaida.com. Okay. And I also have a Facebook page, and it's Miss Aida Psychic is my Facebook. And I'm kind of on Instagram, but not really on Instagram. Okay. And that's Miss Aida Conjure. But my Facebook is, where you can really find me on my website.
So can people do like a reading with you, like on the internet?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. It doesn't have to be spell work. It could be like an actual just reading.
Yeah. Okay. And my books can be found on Amazon. Okay. And just type in Miss Aida, and 5 books will show up because they just translated it into French.
Really? So, interesting. Yeah. Are you working on anything else for this year? For 2022?
For this year, I'm going to be doing a book about love spells. Yes. It's going to have a lot of psychology in it. So it's going to be, my books are different than others. I don't research things. You know, I write from the years of practice that I've had.
Sure.
So I don't look at other, and I always, always, always implement psychological strategies, what you're doing wrong, you know. So I mean, it's a lot of psychology, you know, even your behaviors. You can't be fighting with somebody all the time and telling them off and then expect them to come crawling back. And on the other hand, you can't take crap from people for fear that they won't love you or come back to you. So that's what I'm working on.
Let me tell you something. There's nothing that replaces actual experience. And like you said, after a while, you do this work and you're like, I know how this is going to, you know, like in other words, you see a pattern. Sometimes I imagine when people come to you with certain things and you realize this is how it started, but this is how it's going to get resolved.
Right. I'm 60. I'll be 66 next month. So I do have a couple of years.
Of course. Yeah. That's a good thing about when you're older. It's like, okay, you know, I can remember when.
Yeah. Tell everybody. It's interesting.
I can remember when, and it's like, okay, you know what? I'm starting to sound like my mother.
If people have a medical ailment, I listen to what did this happen? The same thing with this, you know, magic is like, you know, tell me from the beginning, and then I can, you know, exactly what you said, because I've been through it. I've been through it, or I've seen it. You know, like I said, none of my books are through research. They're all through experience.
Right. And people don't, I tell people, you know, you could read all the books you want. You could listen to lectures for whatever. There's no such thing as, I'm going to call it field experience. Nothing ever replaces that.
Yeah.
That's when you really learn the in practice, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever the field is. That's how you really learn things. Is when you're there.
Exactly.
Yes. So yeah, for you people out there that have it out for the boomers, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Again, of course, man. I'm still planning to be around for a while. Take care. Good luck to you. Okay. It was wonderful to speak to you again, my dear.
Wonderful.
Take care, darling.
Take care.
Good night. Wow, she's great. She's great. I love talking to her again. Look, for the people that didn't see it, this is the book. This is her last book that came out. Okay. Hoodoo Justice Magic by Miss Aida. And at the top it says spells for power, protection, righteous vindication. Okay. And you know what? I know there's people that are going to be like, oh. Sometimes, you know, as much as we would like to think that how's the law, sometimes the law doesn't give you justice. Sometimes, even if you could take it to the legal system, but a lot of things that happen cannot be resolved there. All right. And let's face it, we live present day in a very litigious society. Okay. Whereas before, people would resolve their dramas different ways, maybe a little bit too personally, but it would, you know, at the end of the day, it was like, I remember when I was growing up as a teenager, even though I went to Catholic school, but, you know, there's a fight. You didn't see it, but everybody ran over, teenagers, of course. You know, maybe they'd be sent to the office, they'd shake hands. That was it. The police got called. And of course, this no firearms, nothing like this. All right. Nowadays, everything is, whether it's a fight at school amongst teenagers. And by the way, don't misconstrue. I'm not talking about some kid that's got some type of mental health issues that's not being treated. We're talking totally different scenario here. I'm talking about a couple of teenagers that just don't like each other or not getting along, or they like the same girl, or whatever, or the same thing, or the girl like the same, whatever. Okay. Nowadays, everything becomes a 3-ring circus. And sometimes, like what she said, what's happening to her with a neighbor. You have this neighbor, for some reason, she doesn't like you. She wants you out of there. And if you try to logic it, you try to why, how? You never. It has something to do with emotional, whatever their emotional makeup is, their psyche, you know, just whatever. You know, I've heard of people wanting that person to move out of that house because they have a relative or a son or a daughter-in-law or somebody or a grandkid that they want to be able to move into that house. Okay. So they want you out of there. And a lot of times they, again, not logically, develop this animosity against you that you have no idea where it's coming from. But then it plays out like what she's describing, where this lady's ready to call animal control on her because her puppy went in her yard. The lady's kids are, being aggressive towards her. And yeah, that happens. And that's when that book comes in where, you can't call the police. What? The lady gives me hard looks. The lady gives me the stink eye. They're not going to have time for that. All right. And sometimes this is a way to just get that lady off your back or get her to move out. If it's really, I've heard of people, what do you call it? Feuds between neighbors that go on for years. And that, man, people are, all of a sudden it takes the joy out of living at this place because you know that you've got a person on the other side of your fence or maybe down the block or something that is just waiting to pounce on you or somebody in your household for something. That tit for tat kind of thing. And it could sour your whole existence to have that. And if you go to the point where, okay, we cannot talk about it. We cannot come to an agreement. It's like, okay, you know what? We might not like each other, but let's just respect each other. You live in your house. I live mine. That's it. That's fine. Let's leave it at that. Sometimes you can't do that. Either because the person doesn't want to or whatever the reason. And it's very interesting when, if this person, like I said, there is such a thing as negative thought forms, which is when somebody obsessively just thinks. In other words, they're not thinking they're putting a spell on you or doing anything like, or going to somebody and saying, hey, I want you to do whatever, so that this person moves out of that house. No, but they obsessively think about it, oh, I hope that person leaves. Or bad things about you, or I hope this person. There is something that can come of that concentrated intent against you. Not oh man, what a, she isn't, or that guy is such a, no. I'm talking about they spend a lot of time. When people daydream, you daydream, oh, I'm going to go on vacation. Well, this person in a state of daydreaming, okay, they're here thinking, man, oh, that person, I hope they, and they think about it a lot, day after day. Yeah, that can have consequences that will manifest against you. It depends on a lot of things, also where you are. Like she even said at the very beginning, when that guy gave her a hard look, she was talking too loud at another table. And right away, she felt something weird. She says the guy didn't realize what he was doing. But she picked up on it right away. Some people would have felt uncomfortable, would have felt what she described, but they would never have tied it into the guy that gave her a hard look because you're talking too loud. Oh, it's like, okay. So, I guess what I'm saying is us as human beings, especially when the intent is very strong, and I hate to say it, the emotions of love and anger are very powerful emotions. And I hate to say it, that anger / dislike / hatred, let me tell you something, that'll carry you a long way as far as people not forgetting stuff. And like I said, insisting on it and thinking about it. And you know what? And sometimes I hate to say it, you might get that concentrated blowback, and it might just not only be you. They could have a bunch of other shit going wrong in their life that has nothing to do with you. But for some reason, in some illogical way, they blame you for it. And they spend all this time going, "Ugh," just throwing out this negative vibes against you and thinking and why and that person and they got a new car. I hate their house. It looks so neat. I mean, all the most stupid stuff that you could think of or stuff that they're unhappy about. And they just put, when you put a snowball together that you roll it up and make it bigger. That's what they do on an emotional thought intent level. And they throw it at you. And sometimes you feel it right away, like she was saying, and sometimes it comes about like in different ways. And it might take a while for you to realize this is the source of what's going on. That's why this is happening. All right. And like I said, I was going to finish up talking about the evil eye. And it goes on to say this is let me see. Let me see if I can get it. Let me see if I can get it here on the evil eye so that we could look at this. I'm going to try to share it. Share. Okay. Evil eye. Closer look. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get myself over here. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's what the evil eye looks like. Let me see if I can okay, let me see if there's a better shot of this. Oh, they're saying this is see something like this. I'm sure some of you have seen it. It's an amulet which offers protection against the evil eye hanging on a tree in the Cappadocia region of Nevşehir, Turkey. And this is these Maltese boat eyes are fixed onto the front of the fishing boats in order to protect the vessels from the evil eye. Okay, this is very widespread as far as that it was used as a way to protect. This is an evil eye amulet hung inside a ship during 2019's Blue Homeland, Turkey's largest naval drill. Okay. And I've in some cases they call it the Hamza hand. They have a lot of different names besides the what you see this. And anyway, it says, let's see. Okay, the evil eye is essentially a specific type of magical curse and has its roots in magical thinking and superstition. Let's say that a person experiences bad luck, ill health, accident, or some unexplained calamity, perhaps a drought or an infectious disease. Before science could explain weather patterns and germ theory, and any bad event for which there was not an obvious cause might be blamed on a curse. Curses, including the evil eye, are an answer to the age-old question of why bad things happen to good people. The eyes are said to have special powers, and they are said to be the gateway to a person's soul. Shifting eyes are said to subtly betray liars, while a steady gaze may be endearing or menacing depending on the circumstances. I'm sure you've seen people now that study the body, the way your facial expression, even for picking juries, in the what is it, the voir dire stage of the trial, your eye movements, your body movements, a bunch of stuff just to get a good idea of if they're going to pick you or not to be on the jury pool. It says here, eye contact can create an intensely personal connection, whether between lovers or superiors and subordinates. Glaring or intense staring can convey power and authority over another. Of course, actors use their eyes to convey a wide range of emotions, blah, 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 blah. Belief in the power of the eyes is so powerful that any eye affliction has come to suggest evil and bad luck. People who are cross-eyed, have uncontrollable eye twitches or spasms, or who merely have a prominent squint have been shunned and feared as provoking bad luck, especially among those who work in dangerous occupations such as fishing and mining. There's an ancient Greek text on physiognomy, which states, the blind of obstinate, the one-eyed is frequently unjust, and the squint-eyed is regularly arrogant. In other words, you are not a nice person if you had weird eyes. Similarly, those with unusually close-set eyes or eyes of different colors were often suspected of having the evil eye. Babies and children are said to be especially susceptible to harm from the evil eye, and in many countries, including Greece, Romania, and India, praising a child publicly is sometimes considered taboo, for the compliment will draw the attention of the evil eye. In order to ward off the evil eye, parents of a thoughtlessly praised child may ask the person who gave the compliment to immediately spit in the child's face. You remember what she said about the spitting? That she spits, that Greek tradition of spitting 3 times. And I read, I don't know how accurate this is, that sometimes for the, I believe it was the Chinese culture, they would, because of course the male children were prized above female, but what they would do is that they would dress when they were young children, they would dress them as girls so that the evil eye or anything evil would basically overlook them. You know, that kind of deal. And let's see. Baby, because the momentarily exalted youngster has been brought down a peg, any harm by the evil eye is unnecessary. The spittle salve is harmless yet insulting enough to negate the compliment. According to this guy, babies and children are also protected with abitini pinned inside their clothing, which on Pantelleria consists of small bags of red cloth, sometimes heart-shaped, that look like pin cushions and contain a figurine, a saint card, a small gold horn or crab claw, and a bit of red cloth or piece of iron. Who has an evil eye? Maybe you do. Many believe that bad intention is not necessary and that some people can cast an evil eye without even knowing it. If one person is believed to have the evil eye, other members of their family are often treated with suspicion, and any children are assumed to have the curse as well. All right, and it goes on to say the best way to deal with the evil eye is to avoid it in the first place. As a matter of fact, it says here in Cuba, for example, newborns are often given a good luck charm called an azabache to protect them from the evil eye. The azabache is a bit of jet, which is a shiny black little stone. Amulets can be worn to deter the evil eye, often using the color blue, symbolizing heaven or godliness, and an eye symbol. According to Town and Country magazine, Meghan Markle, this is a new one, can often be seen wearing one and are often featured in contemporary jewelry designs. Charms, potions, and spells can also be prepared. Here we go. Garlic can be used to deter the evil eye. I guess you can use it besides vampires. And some believe that just saying the word garlic offers protection. Okay. And often those who believe they have been harmed by the evil eye will seek out shamans, witch doctors, psychics, or other spiritual healers to remove the curse. There are several ways to cure Maldeo. One traditional method from Mexico involves the use of a raw egg. I've heard of this. The egg, a universal symbol of purity and birth, is said to absorb evil energies as it passes over the forehead and prone body of the victim in the form of the cross. Okay, the egg is then broken over a bowl of water and the resulting form closely examined for any unusual shapes. An oval or eye shape seen in the yolk or whites is said to indicate that the evil eyes power has been successfully removed from the victim. This is like the equivalent of the scapegoat, and I'm sure you've heard it, where they would have the sins put on let's say a goat. Well, this is like, they pass the egg over the person's body and they break it and look to see if it's gone. It is tempting to view evil eyes as an ancient discredited belief that plays no role in our 21st century. Instead, folklorists note we should keep in mind that the evil eye is not some old-fashioned superstitious belief of interest solely to antiquarians. The evil eye continues to be a powerful factor affecting the behavior of countless millions of people throughout the world. The belief in the evil eye can be harmless. It can also be dangerous in some circumstances. Anytime one person believes that another has harmed them, whether naturally or supernaturally, intentionally or accidentally, there is the potential for deadly retribution. Like other accused witches and sorcerers over the centuries, many people have been attacked, beaten, and killed for casting the evil eye. And I hate to say it, but yeah, if you're one of these people that your grip on reality is not that good, and you start believing this stuff, yeah, this is when people will do sometimes stupid things or horrible things if they believe it enough. All right, guys, I hope you liked the show. I love speaking to Miss Aida. I have to bring her back. We have to talk about other things because there's so much, like she said, she has so many years of experience, actual experience that we could talk about besides what she puts in her books. Obviously, I don't want her to divulge everything that's in her books, but believe me, she's not only what she knows on a spiritual, metaphysical level, her knowledge, but also that she was a nurse. You know, that story about the paramedics with the blowing up thing. What? I'd be like, I'm quitting. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much. You're all wonderful. Don't forget to go to MiamiGhostChronicles.com for any links to any of the show's video or podcast versions. You can listen to the ones without commercial interruptions if you go directly to the link that I have there, or if not, to your favorite podcast platforms. And again, it is a pleasure to come and share this time with you, and come back next week. I have a lot of great guests coming on. New ones, ones that have been here before, but I guarantee you, always interesting. Take care till next time.